Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Back from a bit of a leave of absence, but thank you for your patience. A lot of you have stuck with me even through the quiet. But I'm back with a vengeance. There's a lot of projects in the making at the moment that I'm busy with. And a lot of it involves you, my supporters. So there'll be a video coming out either tomorrow or Friday, so keep an eye out for that. Just a little video of what you can expect in the weeks and months to come with my channel and the projects I'm working on. So I'm pretty excited about that. It includes obviously a lot more regular posting on YouTube as well. So yeah, with that being said, I won't say too much more. You're gonna have to wait for the video, and let's just get started. So with our last video, we looked at making an object move. It actually rose up through some liquid. Today we're going to continue with that. I'm going to show you how to make an object scale up and down in size, and then how to also make it rotate in different directions. It's very fun if you want to get started in motion graphics. Stuff like that. So we're also going to kind of review making it move. So if you didn't watch the previous tutorial, not an issue. If you want to go and look at that, please do. Yeah, so let's get started. We're going to open up Blender, choose a general file, and then I just want to activate this so that you can see any buttons that I'm pressing. I'm going to try and avoid using shortcuts. But if I do, then at least you'll see there, left click, right click. So you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So let's get started. We're going to be using this cube for this project because it'll work a little bit better. What I can say is that, yeah, we're just going to use this. So let's get started. We're going to click on our object. And we're going to set its initial location. So I'm going to click on it, select my move tool, and I'm just going to move it along the y-axis off here to the left. I'm going to zoom out because it's going to help me with a bit of a later stage. Also help you to kind of get your positioning right and stuff like that. You can see the grid and so forth. All right, this is the starting position for this cube that we've got. And I'm kind of going to have it like move through to the right, pop up to the left, and then come back down, go not to the left, off to the right, up, then to the left, down, into the middle, all while interacting with liquid. So then I'm going to have it go to the middle. It's going to size down really small, like slowly. It's going to kind of shrink, and then it's going to expand really quick, and it's going to do a few rotations, all in liquid, as is to satisfy my obsession with liquid simulations. And then it's going to kind of rotate in two different directions and interact with the water. Hopefully it'll cause a bit of a splashing. Doing this in a lower resolution, so the effect might not be as great as I would like it to be, but I will post a video, a rendered video of it at a higher resolution and water quality, and put it on my Instagram, so go and have a look at that. It's also been a bit quiet there, hoping to amp up my activity there too. But anyways, way too much chatter. Let's click I and set set this initial starting point. Now, the first thing that you need to remember is when you're going to make it move to a new location, in our case, it's going to be on the opposite side of the, I don't want to call it the board, but the 3D space, I guess. First, select your next keyframe. So at the bottom left, you're going to grab this thingy over here in the progress bar. It's like a progress thing. I'm not even sure what it's called. And it's going to take about 1 second to move across. So 30 frames should be more or less the equivalent of a second. Move it across, press I, select location. So if we go back to our first frame and we hit play, it'll move across in more or less a second. All right, then I'm going to go over to frame 31. Actually, don't even have to worry about that. I'm going to make it a quick snap, so frame 40, and then move my object. up like this. Press I to select my new location. So that should be a quicker snap. So if we press play, moves across, snaps up. Nice. Then I wanted to snap again. So I'm going to go over to frame 50 and bring it over to the left. Press I and select location. So we should, technically speaking, have 2 quick snaps. So slow movement, snap up, snap left. Perfect. Then another slower movement to the opposite side of our 3D space. Also, once again, going to be around about 30 frames. I'm going to move it to the opposite side. Wow, my pronunciation is weird today. Move it to the opposite side of our 3D space, hit I, and select the location. So technically speaking, we should have it go right, snap up, snap left, come back down. And there you have it. So then I am going to have it move, also going to take about a second. So I'm going to move my frames all the way to 110. Then I'm going to move it to more or less the center, just keeping an eye on my coordinates there on the right hand side over here. Yeah, it's more or less center. And then press I and location. All right, so let's see what we have. Move to the right, snap up, snap left, move down, move center. All right, I'm happy with that. Then I'm just going to give it like a few frames just for the liquid to settle. So let's give it about 20 frames before we do anything else. Okay, what are we going to do now? We're going to shrink it down. All right, so I'm going to press I to select the scale that it is at the moment. Okay. Then I'm going to have a slow shrinking. So let's say it's going to take a second to shrink. Okay, so we've set the initial size. Now press S and shrink it right down, like way tiny if you want, like that. And then press I and scale. So technically speaking, we should have that. So it'll do nothing for like a half a second or so, and then it'll start shrinking down tiny. So let's have a look at what we have now. Back, stay still, shrink. Awesome. All right, and that's what it has to do for, and then I want the water to rest again for about 20 frames. Okay, then I'm going to just have its initial scale. We just want to make sure about that. There you go, it's not doing anything. Okay, but now I want it to snap to a bigger size. So maybe like a 10 frame snap. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm gonna scale it up quite a bit. All right, something like that. All right, I'm going to hit I and it's scale. So there you can see we've got a pretty dramatic pop. So let's see if that's gonna work the way we want it to. We've got our motion, goes back to it, and it's gonna do nothing, shrink down, pop up. All right, perfect. That is perfect. Okay, so then once we have that done, we're going to look at its rotation. Okay, so to do the rotation, I'm out of breath for some weird reason. Okay, so to do the rotation, all right, so we had it pop up like that. I want the water to rest a little bit again. Okay, so now we can set the initial rotation point. So press I and hit rotation. So here we are, we have our starting rotation. And once again, the same rule applies for the moving, the scaling up and down, and the rotation. All right. The less keys, or the less frames between your keyframes, the quicker it's going to be. The more keys, oh my goodness, I said it again. The more frames between your keyframes, there you go, got it right this time, the slower it's going to move. So we've got our initial rotation, which is pretty much 0. You'll see over here by your object properties, the rotation is 0. Okay, so now all we need to do is move our, frames. Looks like I might have to actually add some more frames to this. It might be more than a 10-second video, this thing. Cool. All right, so then what we want to do is select our rotate tool. And initially I'm going to do a slow rotation. So I'm going to turn it, okay. One full rotation. All right, so over here on the right, we can actually just say 360. All right, there you go. We're gonna press I and select, oops, no, not scale, undo that. We're gonna press I and select rotation, there you go. So you should have a nice rotation, 360 degrees. And it might actually like look pretty fast, as you can see. So let's have a look at our animation that we've got here. So we've got that, scale down, pop up, and rotate. Okay, so as you can see, we had it rotate to the left. Now, let's give it a few seconds. All right, so let's first add some more frames over here. Whoopsie. We're gonna add some more frames over here. I'm gonna make it, let's just make it 400, just for safeties, you know? So we're gonna move it along a little bit. All right, so give it 20 frames for the water to rest again. Then I'm gonna select I and select rotation. So let's just make sure that she's doing nothing in between there. Cool. All right, now I'm going to do a slow rotate. We had it rotate to the left. So this time we're gonna have it do half a rotation to the right, and much slower, like really slow. So I'm gonna select like 40 frames this time, and we're gonna rotate it to the right, but this time we're only gonna do like 180 degrees. So there, we can just make it 180 for the sake of precision, which I know I said we're not gonna do, but still. And we're gonna hit I, select that rotate key. And now we have our animation pretty much done. So let's have a look at it. So back to frame 1, press play, and let's watch it. And this is kind of like your first motion graphic, you know? It's up and down, rotate, rotate again, slowly, and then the water can ease. All right, guys, so this is great. I did actually like play around with this kind of thing before, and I think this one will work a little bit better. All right, so I'm gonna go all the way back to frame 1. And now we're going to add our water guys. Well, not guys made of water, but guys, we're going to add our water now. All right, so I don't know what's up with my talking today, but we're just winging it. All right, so first of all, hit save, okay. There you can see I've already got a folder for this, so I'm gonna say motion graphic tutorial. Oh man, I'm still trying to get used to this new keyboard. And then save blend file. What you can also do is go to external data and say automatically pack into blend file, and then just click save. This adds like certain information in there. All right, so let's add our stagnant body of water by pressing Shift A. The other option, if you don't want to use shortcuts, is to go up here to add. We're going to take mesh, and we're going to use a cube to create a body of water. But we're going to use our scaling tool. Our scaling tool over here. We're going to grab this little blue node, and we're going to make it about that size. So we're also going to drop it around about like that, so that you know, the cube has got fair interaction with it, a decent amount of interaction, you know. So it'll kind of like pop, and it'll affect the water in every action. We want to make sure of that. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so to make a body of water, not very difficult. We're going to take this object that we have over here. We're going to go over to this top little menu, select object, quick effects, and quick liquid. All right, so there we have our body of water. Right, so before we continue, we're going to save. All right. With our domain selected, we're going to come over to the Properties tab here on the right and click on Physics Properties. Scroll all the way down. And over here by cache, we want to make sure that it is in the correct place. So user infinity desktop motion graphic tutorial. There you go. So that's fine. So it's going to put it all in the same folder. This is better because you want to put that data in one folder, all of the stuff, all of your save files into separate folders. Because if you work on a different project now, it could overwrite this data and then this simulation breaks and you can't use it again. So unfortunately, so make sure that you manually make sure that your simulation data is going to the right place. Okay. Then we want to say is resumable. This is a 2.9 function. If you're using 2.8, you won't see that option. So if you don't see it and you're using 2.8, don't stress. Right. Now, if we look at our body of water and we look at our domain, they are two very different sizes. If we had to press play now, this water would drop. Observe. It would just fall. And that's not what we want. So let's go back. We're going to select the domain, hit S to scale it, and we just want the corners to meet, you know. Then we're going to move the domain up, but we're also going to use the scale tool to stretch it a bit. Oopsie. There you go. To stretch it up a bit. And the reason for this is when it spins and it kicks up that water, if it does it the way that I want it to do it, it could shoot up and we want to see that. So then you're just going to move your domain up so that the body of water is at the bottom and that it doesn't drop. Right, now one of two things can happen here. Either your blue dots, which is your water simulation information, is going to move or disappear when you do this. Do not fret because we're just going to bake the data and it will reappear. But before we bake anything, we want to select our object, go to, make sure you have your physics property selected, and then go to fluid, type, and say effector, and then just kind of leave it at that. And then I'm just going to save my project again. All right, now once we've done this, I'm going to set my water resolution because it's pretty low, the resolution division. If you're using a small computer, like an office computer, do not set this higher than 65. I'm going to set it to 100, but please do not go higher than this or higher than 65. That you can see because it makes a lot of information. So please be aware of that. When baking, your computer will get hot. All right, then timescale. What I have also noticed is that the speed of your water, how it moves, is much slower at 1. It almost looks like slow motion. I messed around with it a bit last night, making a simulation was a bit slow. So I'm going to put it to 1.5. That should make it a little bit faster, and that's fine. And now we're going to bake our data. So to do that, we're going to scroll down. We've got is resumable, go to type, modular, and it disappears, don't worry. And then we press bake. And this is going to take a while, so let's let it bake. And once that's done, I'll be back with you and we can continue. Okay, so it is finished baking. So if we press play, it'll very slowly move through our water and we can see some nice interaction. It's going to move across. It is a bit slower because it's processing as it's going. So what we're going to do now is we are going to add a mesh to our liquid so it can start looking like something. And then we'll get ready to render it, so make it look nice. To add a mesh, first of all, we're just gonna pause that to give the computer a break. We're going to go to our physics properties over here, and we're going to click on mesh, make sure that that is ticked, and then we're going to bake that. And this is once again going to take a while. So let's let it bake, and then once that's done, we will play around with the shader, make it look nice so we can see it. and render it and then see if it is going to work the way we wanted it to. All right, so let's let that bake in the mesh and create our liquid, and then we'll be back again. Okay, so it is finished baking. So if we click over here, we can see we've got a nice liquid happening here. So very, very nice. All right, so what you can do is you can see here is this little square over here. And that was the shape where our water came from. It originated. So you can actually delete that. We can just make it disappear. So that's not a problem. And then we can actually get started on making our liquid now that that's finished. So we're going to give it some materials and we're just going to make it look nice. So to do that, we're going to go over here to the top again, and I'm just going to drag this down, and we're going to select our shader editor, and then I'm just going to delete those two because we want to keep our output shader, and then I'm just going to zoom in on that like this. So this one is going to be for Eevee. I'll start doing some cycles projects pretty soon. So we're not going to stress about that. So we're going to say Shift A over here in the shade editor area. If you do it over here, it's going to want to make a mesh. So bring it up, Shift A. We're going to say shader, and we're going to say the principal BSDF. All right, so we're going to place that there and connect these two nodes. So if we go into our rendered view, it'll be a solid, but it's going to be gray. So what we can do to get the most of our color is click on our light over here. Come over to the properties tab, click on our object data properties, which looks like a bulb. Turn it into the sun, and now 1000 strength is way too much, so you can bring it like down to 10 even. That'll be perfect. And then click on our water again. Now you can choose any color you want pretty much. This is actually a really nice blue. And what I'm going to do is, let's just zoom in here a little bit again. I'm going to bring that roughness right off, okay? Bring down that roughness, and that's pretty much it. And then all that we need to do is leave that in Eevee. So let's just press play over here, and let's see if we've got some light reflections on our water. So we've got a little bit, not a whole lot to begin with. But that's some good like water action. There you go. So there is definitely some reflections. And that's pretty fine. I'm happy with that. So let's just now change our world color. So to do that, on the properties tab on the side here, click on world properties. And I'm going to just bring up that brightness like that. Okay. And then you can choose a color of your choice. Just keep in mind whatever color you choose. I'm going to bring that darkness down a bit so that our project stands out. Whatever color you choose is going to affect your water. So for example, I mean, if we had to go with black, it pops, but you can see like those shadowed areas really stand out. But if I bring that up, the ambient light kind of falls in. All right, so, and that's pretty much it. So let's take this up, for example. I'm not happy with the world color, I have to be honest. So let's find something a little bit more project friendly, darker, no, lighter. Something kind of like that. Don't know if I'm feeling it. Let's maybe go back over to the blues, you know, and then like darken it up, bring it a bit over here. Nah. This is always like the big mission is picking a color that suits, maybe like just over there. Okay, and then you can also move the angle of your light to get, you know, the effect that you want and that you appreciate. That's kind of nice because now there's like, if we choose this angle, for example, you get some nice shadows. There's some nice lighting that you get to see. So play around, you know. You know, you can play around with the warmth of the light and stuff like that. We're not going to focus on that in this video though. I just want to get something that's going to highlight some shadows, but also give me some reflections. Let's see. I kind of like something like that. All right, that's fine for me, because the cube's going to be moving in all kinds of directions. Now you just want to place your project. Okay, so that's not working for me. Nice in the center of your screen. Something like this maybe. And then, you know, snap your camera to it by pressing Control Alt and 0. So, and then you can pretty much start rendering your project. So I'm pretty happy with the water interaction, the quality of the water. Not 100% happy with this terrible wild color that we've got going here. I'm almost tempted to bring it more like back to almost gray white type thing, because that color just looks terrible. There you go, that's a little bit better. Once you're happy with all your settings, with your lighting, with your watercolor, you can then render your project. And so let's do that. And you can see there's some nice spray going on. It's very, very satisfying actually. So I'm sure this is going to look nice once it's rendered. So I'm going to pause that and I am going to render this baby. But first I'm going to just hit save my project. We can go over to render. But I nearly forgot. So go to output, file format, and I'm just going to go with FFmpeg. And then I'm going to set my location to my project folder, which should be in there. So there you go. We've got our motion graphics tutorial. I'm going to say accept, and we can now render our animation. All right. So one thing that is really cool about Eevee is that it renders out pretty quick, and this is real time what you're seeing now. So this is great, guys. Let's let that render. And wow, it's almost rendering very close to like slow motion real time. So you let that render and then have a look at the video. So I'm going to let mine finish up and we can have a look at the end result. And there our render is finished. So now we can go to view and let's have a look over here. So that's perfect. What we can do is we can close this and we can go to our render over here and we can say view animation, and there it is. All 400 frames of our little simulation. And it worked out really great. It's a couple of seconds long, and the fluid interactions are great. And you just did your first, well, I don't want to say decent, but a relatively nice motion graphic. So well done, guys. I hope to see you soon again. Have a great day, and I'll see you with our next tutorial.